Live from the Pence Theater on the campus of Central Arizona College in Coolidge, Arizona, the Great Southwest Radio Theater Project presents an afternoon of original radio mysteries from the fabulous 40s. First, from the radio anthology series entitled The Big Story, we introduce you to a man wrongly accused of murder and a newspaper reporter's efforts to set the man free. First aired on June 8th, 1949. This radio play will be followed by High Adventure from the Canadian Rockies, with an episode from the Challenge of the Yukon radio series entitled The Black Husky, first aired on December 1st, 1948. A story of murder and greed investigated by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police with Sergeant Preston and his loyal dog King. And following our station break, we will return with an episode of the Candy Matson Detective Series from San Francisco entitled The Cable Car Murder. We will bring you our first drama, but first, ladies and gentlemen, a word from our sponsor.
That's a lot, twice as much for a nickel too. Pepsi Cola is the drink for you. Nickel, 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 trickle, 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 nickel, 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 trick.
Whether it's in a chilled bottle or at the soda fountain counter at your favorite drugstore, drink a cool, refreshing Pepsi Cola today. Pepsi, the nickel drink for everyone.
The doody dot, the doody dot dot. Pepsi Cola hits the spot. 12 full ounces, that's a lot. Twice as much for a nickel too. Pepsi Cola is the drink for you. Nickel, 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 trickle, 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 nickel, 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 trick. Mr. Clean gets rid of dirt and grime and grease in just a minute.
Mr. Clean will clean your whole house and everything that's in it.
Floors, doors, walls, halls, white wall tires and old golf balls.
Sinks, stoves, bathtubs he'll do. He'll even help clean laundry too.
Mr. Clean gets rid of dirt and grime and grease in just a minute.
Mr. Clean will clean your whole house and everything that's in it.
Can he clean a kitchen sink?
Quicker than a wink.
Can he clean a window sash?
Faster than a flash.
Can he clean a dirty mirror?
He'll make it bright and clearer.
Can he clean a diamond ring?
Mr. Clean cleans anything.
Mr. Clean gets rid of dirt and grime and grease in just a minute. Mr. Clean will clean your whole house and everything that's in it. Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
It's still winter here in central Arizona, and those of you who are winter visitors would be heading north in a few months and missing our warm summer winds. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Carlos Jimenez.
Across the sea, it lingered there to touch your hair and walk with me. All All summer long we sang a song, and then we strolled that golden sand. Two sweethearts and the summer wind, like painted kites, those days and nights, they went flying by. The world was new beneath the blue umbrella sky. Then softer than the piper man, one day it called to you. I lost you to the summer wind. The autumn winds and the winter winds, they've come and gone. Still the days, those lonely days, go on and on. Guess who sighed his lullaby through nights that never end? My fickle friend, the summer wind. That summer wind, warm summer wind.
Carlos Jimenez. Bulova watch time is 3:20 Arizona Standard Time. Pell Mell Famous Cigarettes presents The Big Story.
That sweet, baby. Ain't that hot? Baby, you ain't got your mind on it. Come on, are we dancing or what? Man, don't that send you? Don't that...
Stop! That's him, right there, sitting there. See him? He's getting up now. Stop that man, stop him. He killed my best friend. That man is wanted for murder. That's him. Get him. Stop him.
The Big Story. Here is America, its sound and its fury, its joy and its sorrow, as faithfully reported by the men and women of the great American newspapers. Richmond, Virginia. The story of a murder, of a man convicted of that murder who became the bitterest man on earth. And for his contribution not only in writing a great story, but in reaffirming a great truth that every person on earth is a human being and has a right to human dignity. To reporter Julian C. Hausman of the Richmond, Virginia News Leader, for his big story goes the Pell Mell Award. And now, the story as it actually happened. Reporter Julian Hausman's story as he lived it. It began with a letter from a woman in Brooklyn at 2581 Bushwick Avenue, New York, to the postmaster at Broadnax in Mecklenburg County, Virginia.
Dear Mr. Dawson, I have to make myself known to you, and maybe remember me. Daniel Green's daughter, Mamie, now named Goodwin, since I married. I hope you will not think me being forward to write, Mr. Dawson, but my son, Jamie, he got himself in trouble. He is in Richmond in Enrico County Jail, accused of murder and sentenced to 40 years hard labor. Now, the man did that crime's name is Arthur Tenney, And some people swear that my Jamie is that Arthur Tenney, which he is not. He is my son and never murdered anyone. Now, Mr. Dawson, you know my family, and when I worked for your wife 20 years ago, and then moved from Broadnax to New York, and Jamie came with me. He never killed no one, but I can't come to prove it. So, would you please, sir, get in touch with Sheriff Ray and tell him that Jamie isn't this Arthur Tenney and help him get off. I would be so grateful, Mr. Dawson. Thank you in advance for your humble servant, Mamie Grain Goodwin.
It began for you, Julian Houseman, reporter for the Richmond News Leader, when Postmaster Dawson of Broadnax happened to have some business in Richmond, happened to have a spare half hour, and happened by accident to walk into the newspaper office.
Mr. Houseman?
That's right.
Name's Dawson, postmaster in Broadnax. Got something here you might be interested of. Girl outside says you handle this kind of thing.
What is it? A crime story?
Well, don't know if it's any kind of story. Just a letter I got. Old woman I used to know 20-odd years ago up Mecklenburg County, where Broadnaxers used to do washing for my wife.
Well, I'm on a story right now, Mr. Dawson, and I just...
Well, that's all right. Won't take your time. Just, why don't I leave the letter, and if you think it's anything, why, go ahead and do what you like. If not, guess the wastebasket good a place as any.
3 hours later, after you've finished work, you read the letter. It moves you strongly. The woman's plight, her dependence on Dawson, the helplessness in every line. Could it be as she had written? You call Sheriff Jeff Ray, a good friend, out at Henrico County Prison.
Then there's nothing in it, Jeff, about this Goodwin not being Tenney?
Sure. Had that boy in jail one day 6 years ago, right after he killed his wife. He escaped that first day, but I remember him.
Well, couldn't you compare his prints?
I'll tell you a little secret, Julian. Never did get a chance to take his prints. Was going to do that the second morning, but damned if he didn't escape that night. But we got him now. Had a fair trial, got convicted, and that's that. Julian, he ain't pulling the wool over your eyes now, is he? With that story of being someone else? Hello, Julian. You hear me?
Hear you? Yeah, I hear you, Jeff. No, he isn't. Well, so long.
That's right, Mr. Houseman. My name's Jamie Goodwin. But what's the difference? Ain't nobody gonna believe me. Ain't nobody cares.
Well, what proof do you have?
Proof? What proof? I say who I am. I got papers from the Merchant Marine. Jury said, that's Arthur Tenney, 40 years hard labor. That's your proof.
And you're not Arthur Tenney. You say you're Jamie Goodwin?
I say, what's the difference, what I say? Witness says, court says, judge says, that's what counts. Mister, go away. Who cares if a backwoods boy like me lives or dies? Go away, leave me be. I don't want no burden with no idea. Maybe I can prove who I am. Maybe I can get out. I don't want no burden with no hope, mister.
For a moment you think, oh, what is the difference? And then you stop. He's a man, isn't he? A human being with the same hopes and desires and fears as you or anybody else. And you think, suppose I spend a little time on this, find out. You start with Bertha Jarvis, the girl who identified him.
I was up in New York visiting friends. We went dancing, and that's where I saw him, Tenney.
You're sure it was Tenney?
Sure, I'm sure.
How'd you know?
His wife was my girlfriend. I grew up with her. My best friend. He promised to love, honor, and cherish her. Instead, he killed her. She was a good girl, Marie. He's bad. How do I know? Marie's dead. That's how I know.
You're Marie's mother?
Who, you?
I'm a reporter. Tenny was your son-in-law?
I got nothing to say about him, except they should have electrocuted him, not give him 40 years.
You identified him at the trial.
Sure, saying his name was Goodwin. I ain't Tenny, I'm Goodwin. Liar! You know what a liar that boy was? Come here, look.
What's that?
A Bible. Look at here. He wrote on the inside, "To my darling sweetheart Marie." He gave it to her. The same day, he done it. He killed her. That's how bad he was.
You're sure there couldn't be any mistake?
I swore in the courtroom, and I'll put my hand on this book now. God's my witness that boy in jail killed my daughter. God's my witness.
You wonder about him now, Jamie Goodwin or Arthur Tenney. You wonder, but you go on. Other witnesses say the same. And then, after searching a week, you find the Tenney family, a woman sick in bed who can't talk, and an old bent man who listens to your mission and shakes his head.
He's my son. I don't want to talk about him.
But you weren't at the trial, were you, Mr. Tenney? You didn't see him.
Well, what I want to see. Boy disgraced his family, mister, since he did that 6 years ago. His mama nor me ain't been out of this house. We live in disgrace, that's all. Don't want to talk about him.
But this man may not be your son.
Killed his wife, that's all I know.
But maybe he didn't do it. I don't say your son didn't kill his wife. I say maybe this man isn't your son.
What you want me to do?
Come down to the jail. See him. You may be able to set an innocent man free. You wouldn't want an innocent man to pay for your son's crime, would you?
Enough trouble in the world without some poor boy paying for something my son done. I'll go.
You know this man, Jamie?
No, sir. Never seen him before in my life.
Well, Mr. Tenney?
Mr. Tenney?
This is Arthur Tenney's father. Well?
It looks like him, talks like him, even stands like Arthur. Looks enough to be him, or else in his twin. But he ain't my son. He's somebody else.
Read all about it. Man sentenced to Henrico County Jail for murder. As Arthur Tenney says, that's not his name. Read all about it.
You set down the facts as you got them, the assertions and the denials. And the next morning you get a call. The county attorney, George Bayless, the man who tried the case, tells you to come in. Tells you better come in.
That's a great story you wrote. Great public service.
What's the matter, Mr. Bayless?
You think I try cases and send men to prison for 40 years for the fun of it? I don't.
But I wrote that there is perhaps
Suppose you listen, Houseman, and I talk. 8 witnesses and a sheriff of this county identified this man as Tenney. One witness, the man's father, and of course the man himself, says he's not Tenney. Ask yourself this. Does the Tenney family stand to gain by lying? Does Tenney stand to gain by sticking to a story that he's Goodwin? Of course.
But I saw them together. Tenney's father
saw Bertha Jarvis and the murdered girl's mother and all the rest. Suppose you were accused of being someone you're not. Could you prove who you were? Would it be so difficult?
What about the papers from the Merchant Marine?
Look, I walk into a shipping office in New York and say my name is Jamie Goodwin. Do they ask for proof? No. They issue me papers in the name of Jamie Goodwin. Does that make me Jamie Goodwin?
I see all that, but
there are no ifs and or buts. That boy raised the noise that he was Goodwin in court. We proved who he was. If he hadn't raised that doubt that he was someone else, he would have been sentenced to death, not 40 years. Instead of an innocent man being justly jailed, I tell you, a guilty man has gotten off easy.
You think that?
I know it. Now, why don't you go on back to your paper and write the second part of that story? That Tenny is Tenny. No ifs, ands, or buts.
No, I can't do that, Mr. Bayless. I can't, because after all you said, and all the other witnesses have said, I think I'm right. I think I can prove that Jamie Goodwin is not the murderer.
The facts all seem against you, Julian Houseman, reporter for the Richmond News Leader. Witnesses swear that the man who says he's Jamie Goodwin is really Arthur Tenney, murderer. The sheriff says so, County Attorney Bayless insists so, and all you have to go on is the word of the man himself, the murderer's father, and your own stubborn belief. You go back to Henrico County Jail, to the innocent man, or the murderer, and talk.
Jamie, I need to know more. I've got to know more about you. You've got to talk to me.
What for, Mr. Houseman?
Don't sit there like that. So we can free you. Don't you want to get out of prison?
Do I want to get out? Do I want to breathe? Look, mister, you been good, real good taking time, but nobody cares what happens to me. That old man said I wasn't his son. Anybody listen to him? Did the sheriff listen? Did Mr. Bayless listen? Nah, what's the use?
I tell you, if we can get proof, you can be free.
Nah, they put me away. They treat me good in here. I ain't complaining. Food's good and all like that. But they put me away, and they ain't gonna bother taking me out.
I tell you, you're wrong. Bayless is an honest man.
I ain't saying he's not honest. I'm saying, mister, look, I want to get out, get in the sun, go on a ship maybe, see a girl, get married, have kids. Sure, I want that. But I ain't going to let you come in here and stir up my hopes. Maybe get me to think that's what I'm going to have. I ain't going to let you do that. I'm going to rot in here and ain't nothing you nor nobody in the whole world can do to help me. That's why I say leave me alone, please. I'm begging you. Leave me alone. Don't raise me up, then dash me down more harder than before.
You're wrong, Jamie. How can I make you believe you're wrong? Jamie, I'm going to write a story about what you just told me. Maybe somebody will read it and come forward and say who you really are. What else can I say in that story?
I told you all I'm going to say.
You asked who cares. I care, Jamie. And I think others will care when they hear your story.
Do you? For true? Honest?
For true, Jamie.
All right, say this. Jamie Goodwin's got a bad name. Jamie Goodwin stole a car, stole money for food, but he didn't kill no woman, didn't kill no wife, never was married. Say that. Say if he got married, he treat his woman right. That ain't gonna help me, maybe, but that's the truth.
Anything else?
Yeah, Mr. Houseman. Say Jamie Goodwin works lots of places. Broadnecks, Detroit, Baltimore, Boston. Must be some folks who know him. Must be one man somewhere who'll stop what he's doing. Take a day out, come down here to prove I ain't no murderer. Prove I'm just plain Jamie Goodwin.
I read your story, mister. I thought maybe I knew that man you wrote about. 2 years ago, I lent him $75, and he paid me back, too. Here's the note he signed. See? Jamie Goodwin. Maybe you can use that.
I just come from the jail, Mr. Houseman, where I saw that man. The man they say is Arthur Tenney. Funny, I remember when I talked to Tenney. I knowed him years ago. I used to have to look up at that man. He was tall. This one I didn't have to look up to at all. Now, he must have grown shorter, 'cause I ain't grown no taller. Unless, of course, like I think, he ain't Arthur Tenney, but somebody else.
You houseman?
That's right.
My name's C.B. Sager, planner up Broadnax Way. Had an article in the paper, read it. Spoke to the postmaster in her town about this Goodwin Tenney story. Says come see you, so here I am.
What do you think about it?
Thinking something I don't go in for much, theories. But tell you what I believe in. I believe in facts. I lived in Broadnax all my life, know everyone. A man worked for me, name of Goodwin, years back. Maybe that's the boy you got in jail here. If it is, I'll prove it. I'll ask that boy 6 questions about Broadnax. If he answers them, he's Goodwin. If he don't, let him stay in jail. Now I ain't got all day, let's go.
Stand still, you men.
What's this? What you got all these men in here for?
Can you pick out one you ever saw before, Mr. Sager?
Testing me. Well, I'll be. Sure. There he is. You're Goodwin, right?
Yes, sir.
Testing me.
All right, the rest of you men can go. Jamie, this man has come...
Let me do the talking, son.
Okay.
Look at me. Jamie, who am I?
I remember you, sir, but you're Mr. Sager.
That's right. Where am I from?
Why, Broadnax, sir.
When did you last see me?
Let me see. 7 years ago, sir, last July.
Why do you say July?
You fired me July the 1st, and then you hired me back on July the 4th. Say you were being patriotic hiring me back.
Never mind. What's my brother-in-law's name?
Your brother why, that's the doctor, Dr. Payne.
What did he tell you last time he saw you?
He says, I think it was the last time. He says, don't you go walking on no more roofs, because next time you fall off, you might be lucky and just break one leg.
That's him. That's Jamie Goodwin. No theories, facts. I'll swear. Heck, I don't need to swear. Jamie, when they let you out, you come back to Broadnax. I got a good job waiting.
But it's not so simple. There are 8 witnesses and a sheriff to shake. There is a decision of a judge and jury to reverse. And there is Attorney Bayless, the county attorney. You bring the new information to him, he looks it over, listens, and then says,
I take back some of what I said, Houseman. Your story was not irresponsible.
Thank you.
I said I take back some of what I said. There is still the testimony of 8 witnesses.
I know.
But you think, nevertheless, this information warrants a new trial?
Yes, Mr. Bayless, I do. What do you think?
Houseman, I want you to know I'll fight you. I mean, you and Tenney, or Goodwin, and his attorney, fight you with all I've got. You know I'm a funny duck, and one of those throwbacks to another period of people had a sense of duty and a sense of honesty. If you win this case, you'll know you've been in a fight. You'll get a new trial.
As the Lord's my witness, Judge, that man sitting right over there was married to my girlfriend Marie. That man is Arthur Tenney.
I swear he killed my daughter. That's Tenney. I swear he does not deserve to live.
Yes, sir, Mr. Lawyer, I respects what that poor old woman said about Marie, and I ain't forgetting Marie was my daughter-in-law, but that man sitting there, he ain't my son. He looks like him all right, but he ain't my boy.
My name's Sager, and I say any man answer my 6 questions the way that boy done, I know he's who I say he is. He's Jamie Goodwin.
I'm the boy's mother. I'm the boy's mother, sir. Yes, sir. And no matter what I say, I know. Few people ain't gonna think I ain't sticking up for my son. I am. But I say this. How come that poor woman on the stand whose daughter got killed doesn't know me? How come that man who says he's Arthur Tenney's father never seen me before? If I am the mother of this man, then they are my kinfolks. How come my kinfolks don't know me?
I am a handwriting expert. I have testified in many trials in a professional capacity, including the Lindbergh case. I have examined a sheet of paper torn from a Bible in which Arthur Tenney wrote a few words. I have also examined a note, admittedly signed by Jamie Goodwin. In my honest and positive opinion, the possibility of Tenney writing like Goodwin or Goodwin writing like Tenney is so highly unlikely that it becomes almost a practical certainty that they are very different people. In short, that's Goodwin, Your Honor, not Tenney.
Jamie Goodwin?
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
Case dismissed.
Sir?
You're free, Jamie. You're free.
Please, Mr. Houseman, a little respect for the dignity of this court. Jamie Goodman, you're free.
I don't know what to say, Mr. Houseman.
You don't have to say anything, Jamie.
I got it somehow. I got to thank you. You see, I learned that people do care. People like you and the postmaster from Broadnex and Mr. Sager. Yes, and Mr. Bayless too. Them folks on the other side, they care too. What's true really counts with folks, don't it?
That's right.
And see, Mr. Houseman, something else too. I mean, I learned if you believe in something, don't put your head down and say, nah, that can't be. Put your face up and fight for what you believe. If you do that, people care because they see you care. That's what this shows. Now, ain't it, Mr. Houseman?
That's what it shows, Jamie. That's just what it shows. The day after the trial, Goodwin visited the paper and said, I just wanted to come to the people who got me out of this jam. I needed assistance, and it's to the news leader that I owe my freedom. Authorities are still searching for the actual murder in today's big story.
Listen again next week, same time, same station, when Pell Mell Famous Cigarettes will present another big story. A big story from the front pages of the Columbus, Ohio Dispatch, bylined Bill Foley. A big story about a phantom killer and a reporter who didn't believe in ghosts. The Big Story is produced by Bernard J. Proctor and was written by Arnold Pearl. In order to protect the names of people actually involved in today's authentic Big Story, the names of all characters in the dramatization were changed, with the exception of reporter Mr. Houseman. The role of Julian Houseman was played by Matt Madonna. Chris Stewart played the role of Jamie Goodwin. Sheriff Jeff Ray was portrayed by Bill Alwyn, who also played Tenney's father. Jeannie Kohler was Bertha Davis. Faith McElroy was Mammy Goodwin. Kevin West was the voice of the county attorney, George Bayless. Mark Herbert was the man in the dance lounge, and Sager the farmer. Keith Seaman played the postmaster and the judge. The voice of the newsboy was Hayden Herbert. Jennifer Elliott played the elder woman and the female voice. And Rod Gibson was the male voice. I'm your announcer, Ralph Swain. This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company. Owners everywhere are talking about the economy of the 50 Ford. Listen to what Mr. Jacob Van Wade of Lyndhurst, Virginia, one of over 420,000 delighted owners, say about his new Ford.
In these days, when the cost of everything is up, it's great to own a 50 Ford. I found that my Ford V8 gives me everything I expected to find in an expensive car for amazingly little money. I get 20 miles to the gallon and spend very little for upkeep. My money sure goes a lot further since I own a 50s Ford.
Yes, Ford owners everywhere are excited about the economy of the great new Ford. See for yourself. Tomorrow, stop by your neighborhood Ford dealer and get the facts on Ford's new economy, and then take the wheel and test drive the big new Ford. Watching all the Fords go by, standing on the corner, giving all the Fords the eye. Look at it go, it's the Thunderbird affair lane. Get it a Ford, give Ford a try. So don't be standing on the corner, watching all the Fords, watching all the Fords. Be the guy who's going by. From Coolidge, Arizona, Bill Alwyn. Also from Coolidge, Jennifer Elliott. Again from Coolidge, our sound effects guy, Rod Gibson. From Casa Grande, Mark Herbert and young Hayden Herbert. Also from Casa Grande, our jazz singer, Carlos Jimenez. And from Casa Grande, Jeannie Calder. From Tempe, Matt Madonna. From Florence, Faith McEvoy. From Casa Grande, Keith Seaman. From Coolidge, Isabella Swain. And Chris Stewart had to leave. He's nursing a sore throat, but he's from Florence, our actor and singer, Chris Stewart. Also from Casa Grande, Kevin West. And back there on the landing, our GSR assistants, my wife, Maji Swain, at the control console, and her assistant, Ina Lee. I'm your announcer and director for this performance, Ralph Swain. You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you for tuning in. See you on the radio.